Hi, thanks for watching BibleMountain.com. When there is a public display of anger, we tend to get very uncomfortable about that. Inherent within that discomfort is an assumption that there's something wrong with anger, that there's something wrong with a public display of anger. But Ephesians 4 tells us to be angry and sin not. And so that tells us that there are times that it is okay to be angry. Part of spiritual maturity is deciding when and how to be angry. Exodus 32 illustrates for us a scenario where it is okay to get angry. So let's take a look at this in Exodus 32. The context of this is that Moses had been up on Mount Sinai receiving the law. Then the Israelites started worshiping a golden calf. God got angry and told Moses he should go down to see what the Israelites were doing. And that's where we pick up reading at verse 15. Then Moses turned and went down from the mountain with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hand, tablets which were written on both sides. They were written on one side and the other. The tablets were God's work, and the writing was God's writing engraved on the tablets. Notice the phrase, the writing was God's writing. As a little side note, this reminds us that the scriptures were written by God. In this case, God himself wrote the very words on these tablets. Verse 17. Now when Joshua heard the sound of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, "There is a sound of war in the camp." But he said, "It is not the sound of the cry of triumph, nor is it the sound of the cry of defeat, but the sound of singing I hear." So Moses and Joshua heard this sound from the camp, and at first they thought it was war. But then it was pointed out that it wasn't really the cry of triumph, it wasn't the cry of defeat, instead it was the sound of singing. Verse 19. It came about as soon as Moses came near the camp that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger burned, and he threw the tablets from his hands and shattered them at the foot of the mountain. So notice it tells us that Moses' anger burned. Moses got very angry. And this is a scenario where I believe it was okay and justified for Moses to be angry. This took place mere weeks after the Israelites had received the 10 Commandments, one of which told them to have no other gods before Yahweh, and the Israelites had promised to obey those commandments. And so then here, mere weeks later, they were worshiping a golden calf. They had betrayed the one and only true God who had brought them out of slavery in Egypt, the one who had brought them across the Red Sea and provided food and water for them in the wilderness. And so Moses was very justified in being very angry in this. Verse 20, he took the calf which they had made and burned it with fire and ground it to powder and scattered it over the surface of the water, and he made the sons of Israel drink it. And so we see that Moses acted on his anger and made the Israelites drink this water. Now I made reference earlier to Ephesians 4, and let's read this. This is Ephesians 4 verse 26. Be angry, and yet do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. And so we see there a command that we are supposed to be angry, and yet we're supposed to be angry without sinning. And then James 1:19 tells us, everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. So inherent within the command to be slow to anger is the assumption that there are times it's justified to get angry. It's just we're supposed to do it slowly and not fly off the handle and be angry at the least little thing. But as I said, in our society, when there is a public display of anger, we tend to be very uncomfortable in those scenarios. And inherent with that discomfort is an assumption that there's something wrong with anger, that people should not get angry. However, we see that Ephesians 4 tells us to be angry and yet do not sin. So there are times it is justified to be angry. Part of spiritual maturity is discerning when and how we should be angry. And then Exodus 32 illustrates a scenario where it is justified to be angry. The Israelites were committing idolatry. They were worshiping a golden calf, and this was mere weeks after they had promised not to do that. And so Moses was certainly very justified in getting angry at them. If you haven't joined my email list yet, please do so. First of all, it is free. By signing up, you'll get immediate access to all my free content. It'll be delivered right to your email inbox. This is the best way to make sure you don't miss out on any of my free content. In order to sign up, go to BibleMountain.com, click on follow. There will be a place there to enter your email address. Once again, thank you for watching BibleMountain.com.